When Ben left me again to get back together with Sarah, I finally felt completely worn out. As I was leaving, he said, "Anna, go find yourself a boyfriend. I won't be coming back to you again." I smiled and nodded. All right. He thought that no matter how many times he turned back, I would always be there waiting. But later, when he and Sarah broke up again and came looking for me, he saw me downstairs kissing my boyfriend. The night was lovely, and Ben saw that the girl who used to speak to him softly was now gently talking to another man. David, don't be jealous, okay? I haven't liked him for a long time. I was about to make a wish when Ben got distracted for the third time. He took out his phone without thinking, unlocked it, locked it again, and did it several times. Then, his phone lit up with a message. His worried look went away instantly. While everyone was singing happy birthday to me, Ben got up and left the room without saying anything. The song ended awkwardly. The girl next to me asked if I was okay. I forced a sad smile. What could be wrong? After so many years, I was used to this. The people in the room had already started whispering. I just saw on Instagram, Sarah came back 2 days ago. Did Ben pick her up from the airport? Of course, he loves her more than anything. Everyone knows that. Keep your voice down. Don't let Anna hear. So what if she hears? A second choice should know their place. Now that the real one is back, she doesn't stand a chance. As the whispers got louder, the door opened. Ben had returned with Sarah. They were both wearing black coats. Ben was tall and handsome. Sarah was slim, beautiful, and elegant. They looked like the perfect couple. The others immediately went over to them, saying hi with enthusiasm. I stood aside, knowing better than to go over. Then Ben called my name. Anna? The room suddenly went quiet. Everyone turned to look at me, the one who was still Ben's girlfriend, at least on paper. Sarah also turned to look at me, then, looking clearly unhappy, she let go of Ben's hand. Ben sighed, looking both annoyed and like he couldn't help it. He whispered something softly to Sarah, trying to make her smile, and she finally did. Only then did he walk over to me. Anna, I need to talk to you. I looked up at him. After a moment, I gently asked, Can it wait until I finish cutting the cake? Ben looked away. Anna, all right. I put down the knife and fork, waiting for him to speak. You know that I've always had Sarah in my heart. As he spoke, he frowned slightly, looking at me. Besides, you're really not my type. These days with you have been pretty boring. Are you breaking up with me? Ben nodded right away. Anna, go find yourself a boyfriend. I won't be coming back to you again. This wasn't the first time he had said something like this to me. But before, whenever he said it, I would always shake my head stubbornly. This time, though, I just smiled and nodded. All right. Ben frowned a little as if he wanted to say something, but Sarah had already lost her patience. Ben, are you done? How long does it take to break up with someone? And just like that, he said nothing more. He turned, put his arm around Sarah, and walked away. I clenched my hands tightly, my nails digging into my skin. But I didn't feel any pain. In the end, I couldn't help but look up, watching him walk away. Each step was firm and sure. I counted 11 steps. By the time he took the 11th step and went out the door, it felt like I had finally, truly let go. As soon as Ben left, the others slowly started to leave too. I looked at the cake in front of me, cut a slice, and put it on a plate. Then, I opened a bottle of wine. In the end, I didn't even take one bite of the cake. But I finished the whole bottle of wine. Putting on my coat, I walked out of the room. Not far away, fireworks lit up the night sky. I stopped for a moment to watch. As the sky filled with bright colors, I saw Ben and Sarah. She was incredibly beautiful, her smile shining, and Ben held her close, kissing her forehead gently. Today was my birthday, but these fireworks were never for me. I laughed sadly, turned around, and walked away. On my way, a drunk man stepped in front of me, blocking my path. Hey, sweetheart, want to have some fun with me? I pushed him away a few times, but he wouldn't move. Panic started to rise in me. Here, besides Ben, I didn't know anyone. But should I ask Ben for help? Before I could do anything, Ben had already disappeared into the crowd with Sarah. The man's grip tightened around my wrist, pulling me towards him. I struggled, but the alcohol had taken all my strength. Just as his hand was about to touch my waist through the darkness, I saw a familiar figure. David stood under the streetlights, wearing a dark gray coat that went down to his knees. He had a cigarette in his fingers and was talking on the phone. The end of the cigarette glowed in the night, lighting up his long, elegant fingers. The shadows on his sharp, handsome face made him look like a statue made of jade, striking and untouchable. Without thinking, I called out desperately, "Dr. David!" When David looked at me, his deep, cold eyes were like frozen stars in the night, without warmth, without emotion. But after a short pause, he hung up the phone and stepped on his cigarette. Then, he walked towards me. The two drunk men must have seen that he was someone important, someone you shouldn't mess with. They let go of me without a word and walked away quickly. But the moment they let me go, my legs gave out. David reached out and held me steady. "Stand properly." I whispered thank you, trying to stand up straight. But I was still unsteady, almost falling several times. David frowned slightly and held me up again. "Where's Ben? He's not with you?" "We broke up." He gave a short laugh. Or maybe I just thought he did. "Haven't you two broken up every other week?" I looked down, staring at my feet. That sad feeling spread from my chest to my throat. When I spoke again, my voice was rough. "This time it's real. We won't be getting back together." David didn't seem interested in my explanation at all. He glanced at his watch and said flatly, "Can you get home by yourself?" My stomach hurts. "Your ulcer just healed. You shouldn't be drinking so much." "But today is my birthday." I looked up at him, my eyes a little red. "Dr. David, I only drank because I was feeling awful." David said nothing, but his gaze softened. Just a little. "I'll take you home." "I don't want to go home." David looked at me, his eyes becoming a little darker. "Then what do you want to do?" "Dr. David, I'm listening." "It's my birthday. I don't want to be alone tonight." David was quiet for a few seconds before he finally spoke. "Get in the car." "I'm not going home." David held the steering wheel with one hand and looked at me. "I know." To be exact, by the time we reached the underground parking lot, we were already kissing. It started when he leaned over to unbuckle my seatbelt. As he turned, his high nose accidentally brushed against my hair. "Dr. David?" My reaction was slowed down by the alcohol. I looked up at him, confused, forgetting to move away. David held my gaze. He didn't try to move away either. His eyes became warmer and warmer, making my skin feel hot. I don't remember who kissed first. By the time I realized what was happening, David had already put his hand on the back of my head and made the kiss deeper. I had been with Ben for almost a year, breaking up and making up many times. He had held my hand. He had kissed me. But maybe because he never really liked me, even his kisses were quick, barely touching my lips. But David kissed deeply, so deeply that I couldn't breathe. Only when I was about to run out of air did he finally let me go. In the dim light of the car, he lowered his head, resting his forehead against mine. "Anna, you're supposed to close your eyes when you kiss." "Why?" David kissed me again. "Because when you look at me like that, I won't be able to wait until we get home." This time his kiss was slow, lingering, and made me feel dizzy. A soft sound came from my lips. I lifted my hands, running my fingers through his thick, dark hair. "David, don't rush. We have all night." I didn't want to be someone's sad second choice anymore. I didn't want to be picked up and thrown away whenever he felt like it. I knew how hard it was to completely let go of someone I had truly loved. So I refused to leave myself any way back. I refused to turn around. After tonight, Ben and I would be impossible. Maybe it was all the years of holding back. Maybe this rare moment of being drunk was my way of taking things to the extreme. David carried me into the bedroom. As he stood by the bed, unbuttoning his shirt, he suddenly stopped. Leaning over, he looked at me. Anna, if you regret this now, I reached up, putting my arms around his neck. Dr. David, do doctors ever think about running away at the last moment? David didn't say another word, but in his dark eyes, a fire started. My wrists were held above my head as he kissed me, deep and strong. Surgeons always have strong, skillful hands, and David was definitely one of the best. As I felt myself floating away, a silly thought came into my head. With hands like his, he could probably catch even the slipperiest fish easily. Otherwise, why was it that right now he had caught his little fish so perfectly? Anna. His hot kisses came again as David gently bit my earlobe, his voice rough. Say my name, Anna. I made a soft, whimpering sound. David, David, I can't take it. His kisses fell on my lips like a storm. Good girl, I'll give you everything. By midnight, rain had started to fall outside on the balcony. The delicate flowers were wet from the early winter rain, and inside the room, a different kind of storm was happening, just as strong and exciting. But after the passion, one of us was left with mixed feelings. David, wanting a cigarette, took one out but didn't light it. He hadn't expected this. Anna had been in an on-again, off-again relationship with Ben for 3 years. And yet, she had never crossed that line with him. When I woke up the next morning, sunlight was already coming into the room. David Shue had the day off today. He had already made breakfast. After washing up, I sat at the dining table. As he handed me a cup of warm milk, I hesitated before asking, Dr. David, can I take a picture? 10 minutes ago, someone had sent me a screenshot. Last night, Ben had posted on Instagram. After all the wandering, it's still you. The picture was of him and Sarah, their fingers together under the fireworks. Someone had apparently asked about me in the comments. Ben had replied, Don't mention her again. Sarah wouldn't like it. A picture of what? David sliced a piece of bread and put it on my plate. The same hands that usually held a scalpel were now holding a knife and fork. Each finger was like smooth jade, long, steady, powerful. A memory of last night flashed through my mind. These very hands, which seemed so careful and controlled in the daylight, had been nothing short of sinful in the dark. And those words he whispered in my ear when things were most intense, I didn't even dare to think about them. I turned my face away, coughing lightly. I want to take a picture of your hands. David didn't reply, but after putting the bread down, he didn't move his hand away either. I slowly took out my phone, snapped a picture, and then asked, Can I post it on Instagram? David peeled an egg slowly. I'm single. He glanced at me and handed me the egg. Do as you please. I posted an Instagram update. Bread always seems to taste better when it's cut by a pair of beautiful hands. The picture was of David's hands, so beautiful they seemed almost unfair to everyone else. Within seconds, it was like pouring cold water into hot oil. My WeChat was flooded with messages. In one of Ben's friend groups, someone had already taken a screenshot of my Instagram post. Is this real, or did she Photoshop it? Not gonna lie, those hands do look damn good. Never thought Anna had it in her. She probably just found a random photo online to piss off Ben. Ben. Childish. Ben, what do you think? What if it's real? Anna's not bad looking. Fair skin, soft features. The kind of girl people want to protect. Ben. She wouldn't dare. You never know. Even the quietest person has their breaking point. Didn't Daniel say the same thing back then? Daniel. I sure did. Marco. Ben, if Anna really started dating someone, would it bother you? Ben. I said she wouldn't dare. Yeah, because if she did, she wouldn't even be a backup option anymore. Ben. Tell her to quit the games. She's not Sarah. I don't fall for that kind of crap. After replying, Ben threw his phone aside and lit a cigarette. What a stupid move, Anna. I looked through the many messages on WeChat. Most were people asking about my Instagram post, wondering what it meant. I didn't bother replying. That afternoon, David got called in for an unexpected surgery. Stay home and rest. I'll be back for dinner. He had already changed and was grabbing his car keys when I quickly followed him out. I want to stop by my restaurant. David glanced at me as he put on his shoes. Something wrong? I pressed my lips together, looking away. Ben still has some things there. I want to pack them up and have his assistant pick them up. David's voice was calm. All right, I'll drive you. David, there's nothing between us anymore. I regretted saying it the moment the words left my mouth. Honestly, David probably only brought me home out of curiosity. I didn't owe him an explanation. I know. David turned back to look at me, his expression surprisingly gentle. I'll pick you up after work. After dropping me off at my restaurant, David headed to the hospital. I started gathering Ben's belongings. I owned a small private dining restaurant. At one point, I had set aside a private room just for him. Sometimes he'd have close friends over there. Occasionally, he'd even stay overnight. But we never actually lived together. He had held me. He had kissed me. Once, when he was drunk, we almost slept together. But at the last moment, I heard him whisper Sarah's name. And just like that, I became sober instantly. The body doesn't lie. Desire can never be faked. Maybe that was the moment I truly woke up from this ridiculous, messy love. Ben didn't love me. He never even liked me, not even a little. I packed his things neatly, then called his assistant. Leo, could you come by when you have a moment? Please pick up Mr. Liu's belongings. Miss Anna, please hold on a moment. All right. A few minutes later, Leo called back. Miss Anna, Mr. Liu said to leave his things there. He said that you're still friends and that he'll continue looking after your business. That won't be necessary. I smiled. You should still come pick them up. No need for unnecessary complications. Miss Anna, I'm waiting at the restaurant now. If you don't come, I'll just have them sent over. With that, I hung up the phone. Leo hesitated for a moment. Mr. Liu, what do you think? Ben's expression darkened slightly. In the past 3 years, this was the first time something like this had happened. First, Anna posted a ridiculous, out-of-nowhere Instagram update. Then, she suddenly wanted to clear out all his belongings. It really seemed like she was being serious this time. But Ben knew Anna better than anyone. She loved him completely. There was no way she could actually like another man. This was just another silly trick, a childish act of jealousy. In the past, Anna had been too simple to play these kinds of games. Clearly, someone had been helping her. Ben found it funny. Anna probably didn't even realize for a girl as simple-minded as her, trying to play mind games was full of flaws. And frankly, he didn't appreciate her making a scene like this. The only thing he ever liked about her was how obedient and well-behaved she used to be. Ben's face grew cold. Go. Bring everything back. Are you sure, Mr. Liu? Leo was surprised. Ben nodded. Of course, and tell her I won't be going to her restaurant anymore. When Leo came to collect the luggage, he told me Ben's message. I wasn't surprised. Sarah had returned to stay for good this time. It was only natural that things between them were getting serious. Even if I meant nothing to Ben, I still had the title of ex-girlfriend. Cutting ties completely was the most logical step. Leo, please also pass a message to Mr. Liu. I smiled. Thank him for supporting my business these past few years. Leo hesitated. Miss Anna, actually, Mr. Liu didn't mean it that way. Leo, I have to go to the market. Still smiling, I made it clear that our conversation was over. Left with no choice, Leo and the driver loaded the 2 suitcases into the car and left. After getting into the car, Leo called Ben. Mr. Liu, where should we send your things? What did she say? Miss Anna said she's very grateful for all the support you've given her business, and... Leo hesitated. That's it. Ben didn't respond. A few seconds later, the call suddenly ended. On the 3rd day, the restaurant received a large reservation, 2 private rooms booked for a gathering. At 6 in the evening, David stopped by after work. He was wearing a gray trench coat, looking tall and sharp, his features as striking as ever. But unlike that night, the coldness in his expression had softened a lot. Even the way he looked at me had a certain warmth. Tonight will be a bit busy. I might not have time for you. That's fine. I'll just wait for you in the room. What do you want to eat? I'll have whatever you're having. That won't do. It's your first time at my restaurant. I thought for a moment and told the kitchen to prepare a light meal of porridge and side dishes. There's a private lounge here. I'll take you there first. They'll bring your food shortly. But David didn't follow me. He leaned against the bar, looking at me with a calm, unreadable gaze. I hesitated. What's wrong? David gave a low chuckle. I don't go into other people's rooms. I froze, then realized what he meant. Don't overthink it. The old room was turned into a private dining suite. The lounge is just for my friends. David's lips curved slightly. All right, then. Just as he finished speaking, a cold voice sounded from behind us. Move aside. Without thinking, I pulled David aside to make way, only to see Ben and Sarah. Ben's gaze swept over me without interest before landing on my hand, still holding David's sleeve. His eyes darkened. Sarah smirked at me, raising an eyebrow as if challenging me. Anna, long time no see. I nodded but didn't reply. Ben looked away, pulled Sarah close, and walked inside without looking at me again. Not even once. Not until they had disappeared from sight. Anna, David took my hand. Show me the way. I don't know where to go. I nodded, letting him hold my hand. I led him to the lounge, ready to leave when I hesitated. Stay here and rest. If I have time later, I'll have dinner with you. But David caught my wrist and pulled me into his arms. You have chefs and staff. You don't need to do everything yourself. David. Before I could finish, he lowered his head and kissed me. Just like that night, deep and overwhelming. Not here. We don't have... Panicked, I tried to push him away, but David simply lifted me onto the table. Maybe it was just my imagination, but he felt like a completely different person. Wild. Anna, I want you here. With practiced ease, he pulled his shirt loose and moved between my legs, kissing me fiercely again. That night, you asked me to stay with you. I did. Tonight, I want you to stay with me. But we don't have protection. I could get pregnant. Then we'll keep it. David, are you crazy? He slowly unfastened his belt, gripped my wrists, and pulled me towards him. Then just think of me as crazy. Outside the window, the sky had turned a deep shade of night. The wind howled past, rattling against the glass. I bit my finger, trying to keep quiet, but David removed my hand and held it firmly in his. His lips brushed against my neck. Anna, don't hold back. People might hear, let them. With those words, he pressed in deeper, and my voice broke. Through the window, the city lights flickered in the distance. Beyond those lights, laughter and clinking glasses filled the banquet hall. And in the center of that lively gathering was Ben. How absurd. Yet there was something exciting about it. I wrapped my arms tightly around David. David, kiss me. Obediently, he lowered his head and kissed my lips. When I stepped out of the room, the heat still lingered at the back of my neck. I was hurrying toward the kitchen when Ben's voice suddenly rang out from behind me. That guy from your Instagram? Was that him? I turned around in surprise. He stood there, cigarette in hand, his face expressionless, the cold night wind swirling around him. I instinctively wanted to shake my head, but before I could, Ben gave a scornful laugh. Anna, stop wasting your time. His fingers holding the cigarette reached towards my face, but I turned away before he could touch me. His voice was low, smooth, almost hypnotic, yet sharp enough to cut deep. Using another man just to get a reaction out of me, Anna, you're not even good at this. You're not cute when you play these little games. I couldn't help but laugh. Then, shaking my head, I sighed. Ben, I'm really not that childish. Maybe he would never understand. Even now, standing there, so confident, so sure of himself, believing I would always be his backup, always waiting for him. He didn't know. He didn't know that I had already been with another man, had already shared the kind of intimacy with someone else that I never had with him. But why not? Who really needed who in the end? Ben stepped on his cigarette, looking down. At me, clearly not believing me. Believe whatever you want. I didn't bother saying more. I walked past him without another glance, never looking back. Since that day, Ben never came to my small shop again. But David and I, We still had that kind of relationship, getting closer, yet somehow never truly crossing the final line. Half a month later, when Daniel and Marco arrived at the private club room, they found Ben drinking alone. He had just fought with Sarah again, another argument that ended badly. And yet, when Sarah had been yelling at him, refusing to let go of the fight. For some reason, Ben had thought of Anna. She was never like this. She never got angry, as if she had no temper at all, even when he had left her time and time again, always choosing Sarah over her. She had never cried or thrown a fit. And every time he came back to her, she would only ask him, Ben, have you really thought this through? Every time she asked, he would pinch her cheek and casually say, Of course I have. From now on, it's just you, Anna. Then she would blush, her fair skin turning hot and red. If he leaned down to kiss her, she would be so flustered, she wouldn't even dare to look him in the eye. Ben suddenly felt annoyed. He put down his glass and took out his phone with a frown. It had been half a month since they last saw each other at the shop. Anna had made no contact. No calls, no WeChat messages. As if she had completely disappeared from his world. Daniel sat on the couch across from him. Drinking alone? Ben didn't respond. Daniel poured himself a drink, leaning back lazily. He had just heard the news a few days ago. Ava was pregnant, and Alex was very happy. Daniel himself wasn't sure how he felt. She was happy, and he wanted her to be happy. But there was still a lingering sadness, because that happiness hadn't come from him. Ben, do you really feel nothing for Anna? She's plain and not very smart. How could I possibly feel anything for her? You say that, but for the past 3 years, besides Sarah, she was the only other woman in your life. Ben poured another drink. So what? I only went after her to make Sarah jealous. Ben, don't be like me and Daniel, Marco suddenly said, his voice serious. Sometimes the person involved is the last to realize the truth. Ben, maybe you don't even realize it yourself, but Anna isn't as unimportant to you as you think. Impossible. Ben's eyebrows furrowed deeply. She's not my type at all. Marco chuckled and clinked his glass with Daniel. You can't wake someone who refuses to see the truth. Just wait. He's the type that won't believe it until it hits him hard. Ben sneered. I'm nothing like you two. I genuinely don't like Anna. I feel nothing for her. Otherwise, in these past 3 years, I would have slept with her. The moment he finished speaking, the door suddenly swung open. Ben, guess who I just saw? Ben's fingers tightened around his glass. Who? I saw Anna. His tense grip slowly relaxed. He set his glass down and leaned back lazily against the couch, his posture relaxed and unconcerned. So what? Maybe even he didn't realize how different his expression had become from just moments before. Even his voice had lost its previous coldness. Daniel and Marco exchanged a knowing look and shook their heads helplessly. I asked her if she came here to find you, but she wouldn't admit it. Ben gave a soft laugh. Just ignore her. Girls are shy. That's normal. Want me to call her up? Ben waved his hand. No way. If she really wanted to see him, she could come up herself. He would never send someone to call her over. Still, he was in a good mood now. If Anna took the first step and apologized, he wouldn't mind being a little nicer to her. He had almost thought she had finally stood up for herself this time. Who would have thought she couldn't even last half a month? Feeling amused, Ben called for a round of cards. But as time passed, the door remained quiet. He found himself getting distracted, glancing towards the entrance a few times, even messing up a few rounds of the game. One of his friends, noticing, laughed. You guys keep playing. I'm stepping out for a smoke. A few moments later, the guy returned, but his expression was a little strange. I just saw Anna again. She's sitting downstairs alone. She said she's waiting for someone. Ben threw down his cards, lit a cigarette, and glanced at his watch. It's already 10 at night. Who the hell is she waiting for? No idea. I told her to come up and wait inside, but she refused no matter what. Just kept saying she was waiting for someone. She's got some nerve. Suddenly, even his cigarette tasted dull. Annoyed, he crushed it in the ashtray. I'm going out for some air. I checked my phone. It was already 10 o'clock. David's surgery was probably still going on. He had planned to take me out with some friends tonight, but halfway there, he got an urgent call from the hospital. Originally, he thought it would be done by 8:30, but now there was still no word from him. I sighed and stood up. I knew that saving lives was his job as a doctor, but I couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. Even after all these years of being stood up, of being left behind halfway through, it still hurt. I was never truly immune to it. Anna? Just as I turned to leave, a familiar voice called out from behind me. For a split second, my spine stiffened, but I quickly regained my composure. What are you doing here? Ben walked towards me slowly, raising an eyebrow. Meeting a friend, but they had an emergency and couldn't make it. I looked him in the eye, my voice steady. Ben gave a sharp, mocking laugh. Anna, do you know how stupid you look when you lie? I blinked, then immediately understood. Of course. This was one of Ben's usual hangouts. He must have thought I had come looking for him and was too embarrassed to admit it. But I was too tired to explain, knowing he wouldn't believe me anyway. So, I simply smiled. I'm leaving now. Anna. Ben called my name again. Some things, once, maybe twice, but not a third or fourth time. You're misunderstanding. I really am waiting for a friend. He got called into surgery at the last minute. The guy from your Instagram? Ben's smirk grew colder. Anna, I never knew you had a doctor friend. I met him when I was sick. I looked him in the eye. That night, when I called you at midnight, saying my stomach hurt so badly, I couldn't take it anymore. And you hung up on me. Ben's expression changed. Slowly, his face drained of color. For the first time, there was something almost desperate in his eyes. You were really sick? His voice wavered slightly. I thought you were just jealous of Sarah and making up excuses to get my attention. It doesn't matter. It's in the past now. I'm mostly fine. I smiled lightly. It's late. I should go. For some reason, Ben didn't stop me this time, and that was fine. No more ties, no unfinished business. This was the best outcome. By the time David finished his surgery, it was already 11. I had just arrived back at my restaurant when he called. Anna, I'm driving over to see you now. David, you just finished a surgery. You must be exhausted. Get some rest. I broke my promise first. I should apologize in person. David, I murmured his name softly. I had always been aware of myself. For the past half month, we had been in this close, undefined relationship. But not once had he made any promises. I knew very well David was only interested in me because I was something new. He would never truly love me. Just like in those 3 years with Ben, despite all our ups and downs, I had always known that in his eyes, I was never really his girlfriend. As everyone in their circle was rich, powerful, and amazing in their own way. And I was just another ordinary person in a sea of billions. If I had any strengths, they were simply that I had a calm personality, that I was good at cooking, and that I could run my small restaurant on my own. But that was all. Ben had always loved Sarah, the glamorous, dazzling kind of woman. And David's type would never be someone like me either. Back in university, David was a legend. The perfect, unattainable senior who was always seen with the most beautiful girl in the English department. A girl so stunning that everyone called them the perfect couple. Rumor had it that she wanted to stay abroad after graduation, while David was determined to return home and become a doctor. That was how they broke up. Since then, David had never been in a relationship. He had remained single all these years. I had seen that senior girl twice. She was breathtaking, more beautiful than even the most famous celebrities. Only a woman like that could make David fall completely in love and never forget. Anna, what's wrong? David's voice brought me back to the present. He sounded exhausted, his voice rough from fatigue. But when he said my name, his tone was gentle. Something pricked at my eyes. I almost cried. It wasn't a big deal. That night, even though I had been drunk, I had been completely aware. I knew it had only been a fleeting moment, a temporary feeling, a love that would never last. David, let's not see each other again. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. When he finally spoke, his voice was as calm as ever. Anna, whatever it is, let's talk in person. No need. We don't have to meet. Saying it over the phone is enough. I'm already on my way. I'll be there in 30 minutes. David, wait for me at your restaurant. Don't go anywhere. It's late and it's not safe. And with that, he hung up. Panic spread through me quickly. I didn't know what I could say to him. I couldn't guess what he would say to me. Those 30 minutes felt like forever, yet they disappeared in the blink of an eye. His call came again. Anna, I'm outside. I had planned not to go, not to meet him. Some truths were easier when I kept them to myself. Hearing them out loud was a completely different thing. Sometimes I really wanted to be an ostrich, to just bury my head in the sand and pretend. But the Beijing winter was so cold. Even through the phone, I could hear the wind howling outside. In the end, I still went to him. I'm sorry for breaking our plans tonight. I'm not angry. You're a doctor. It's your job. I understand. Then why did you say we shouldn't see each other anymore? That night, it was just an accident. David, I won't hold on to you because of it. I know you don't like me. So in your eyes, I'm the kind of man who brings random women home? No, I didn't mean it like that. I rushed to explain. I thought your Instagram post the next day meant you were making our relationship official. He paused. Guess I was overthinking it. David. My eyes widened in surprise. So, you don't like me, do you? Anna, did Ben come looking for you again? You still can't forget him, can you? That Instagram post. You only posted it to get a reaction from him. His voice remained calm from beginning to end. There was no anger, no emotion, and yet a strange thought popped into my head. Was he jealous? Jealous of Ben? But I had never thought of it that way. And on my birthday that night, I had already let go of Ben completely. I had stopped loving him. David took off his glasses and pinched the bridge of his nose. He looked exhausted. After hours of surgery, he had driven straight here. His eyes were bloodshot. He hadn't even changed out of his white coat. The winter wind howled around him, but he stood in front of me, dressed too lightly for the cold. Even if I were blind, I could tell David didn't feel nothing for me, but why? Why would he care about me? I was just an ordinary girl. Anna. David looked at me. Maybe it was because his eyes were red from tiredness, but for the first time, he looked vulnerable. You can't do this to me. You can't just leave me after everything. You can't run away from this. I didn't. You said we shouldn't see each other anymore. David, I was only worried I'd be a burden to you. I didn't want you to think I'd hold on to you just because of that one night. So you don't love Ben anymore? And that Instagram post, it wasn't to make him jealous. I wanted to laugh, but instead my eyes stung with tears. The night was deep and quiet. David stood in the wind, protecting me from the biting cold. I looked up, and in his eyes, reflected in the dark, was only me. Why was it him that night? Maybe because on that long ago night when I was in terrible pain, when I thought I might actually die, it was his warm hand that reached out to me. So when I saw him again, something inside me just knew he would save me again. Now, once again, he was standing before me, reaching out his hand. Maybe this time, I shouldn't let it slip away. Even if what he felt for me was small, it was still more than someone who never loved me at all. David, stop being jealous, all right? I stopped loving him a long time ago. Before I could even finish, David cupped my face and kissed me. Ben didn't know why he had come looking for Anna. Maybe it was because of the huge fight with Sarah, one so tiring that he found himself thinking about ending things for good. Or maybe it was because of the doctor Anna had mentioned. Something about him had made Ben feel uneasy. And so, without thinking, he found himself driving to Anna's restaurant in the middle of the night, but no one else showed up. She had been lying. There was no friend gathering. She had come looking for him. She wanted to get back together, and this time, more than ever, he wanted it too. But just as he was about to go inside, a car pulled up outside Anna's restaurant. And when David stepped out, Ben felt his heart stop suddenly. All this time, he had assumed the doctor was just some average man. After all, Anna was just an ordinary girl. How special could a man be if he liked someone like her? But he never expected it to be that man, the one from Anna's restaurant that night. The moment Ben had first seen him, something in his gut had told him to pay attention. But his arrogance had ignored it. A man like that, refined, composed. Why would he be interested in Anna? But why wouldn't he? After all, wasn't he also here in the dead of night driving to see her? Through the years, Anna had already become a part of him. So now that she had finally, truly let him go, he felt it. The discomfort, the unwillingness, the quiet, suffocating sense of loss. Just as Daniel had said, he had been blind to the truth all along. He had always assumed he didn't like Anna, and he had always believed Anna would never stop loving him. That no matter what, as long as he turned back, she would always be there waiting for him. And every single time, she had proven him right. So he had been careless, unrestrained, confident that he would never lose her. Until now. He stood there, frozen, as Anna and David kissed. A deep, passionate kiss, neither of them wanting to pull away. He watched as David followed Anna home. He watched as the lights inside her apartment stayed on for a long time and then finally turned off. And in that endless darkness, Ben heard it, the sound of something shattering inside him. Ben's phone was ringing, buzzing, nonstop. Like the person on the other end wouldn't stop until he answered. He glanced at the name flashing on the screen, then gave a sad laugh and answered. Sarah. Ben, where did you go? They told me you saw Anna tonight. Did you go looking for her? I knew it. You've been lying to me this whole time. You said you didn't like her, but that was just a lie, wasn't it? Ben, if you love her, then why did you come back to me? If you're with me, why are you still thinking about her? What do you take me for? I'm not Anna, Ben. I won't just sit here and let you use me. I won't wait for you like some fool while you run off to someone else. You're right, Ben finally spoke. Sarah's shouting stopped suddenly. Ben? You're right. You're not Anna. You were never going to wait for me. So now at last, you're finally being honest. Ben? Sarah's voice shook. You didn't date anyone in those 3 years? Ben gave a cold laugh. You were always single after we broke up? Always waiting for me? And what about you, Sarah? Every time we broke up, didn't you turn around and find Anna? Why is it okay for you to move on instantly, but not for me? But I never hid it. Ben's voice was calm. I was honest about it, Sarah. Yes, I went back to Anna right away, but I never pretended otherwise. And you? Who was it that claimed she had been single for 3 years? Who was it that lied first? You'll never compare to Anna. At least when she loves someone, she gives them everything. And I'm no better. I'm selfish, undecided, greedy. Sarah, we're both just two terrible people. Ben! Sarah took a deep breath. You really love Anna, don't you? You've always loved her. Every single time you went back to her, you were happy about it, weren't you? Ben tightened his grip on the phone. Had he been that obvious? It was true. Every time he and Sarah fought, he rushed to find Anna. He never even waited a full night. Maybe deep down, he was always looking for a reason to fight with Sarah, a reason to break up, so that he could go back to Anna, so that he could keep her by his side again. Because when she was there, the emptiness inside him faded. But on her birthday that night, he had fought with Sarah again. Except that time, it hadn't been a big fight, not bad enough to break up over. So he hadn't gone to Anna. The next day, she posted that Instagram photo. He had been furious, but he pretended not to care. He told his friends Anna was just acting out of jealousy. And then, Anna called Leo, told him to pick up Ben's things. At that moment, there had been a flicker of panic in his heart. But he was too arrogant. Even then, he refused to believe Anna was really leaving. He had even thought, childishly, that he would teach her a lesson. scare her a little. And yet, because of that one mistake, there was no turning back. The sound of Sarah crying filled his ears. Ben leaned back in his seat, pressing his fingers against his forehead. Sarah, his voice was low. Let's not do this anymore. Ben, what are you saying? Ben stared into the darkness. For a long time, he said nothing. Then finally, let's break up. From now on, let's not see each other again. My room wasn't big, neither was my bed. David, being tall with long legs, looked almost cramped lying on it. But he refused to leave. I felt bad for him. He was exhausted. So, I offered to sleep on the couch instead. But David wouldn't let me. Half asleep, a thought suddenly came to me. I couldn't help but ask him, David, why were you always so distant with me before? Even after we slept together that night, though he had become gentler with me, I never once dared to think that he actually liked me. Because you kept getting back together with Ben. David pulled me closer. So I kept reminding myself to keep my distance. That night, when you fell sick, when Ben ignored you, I thought you would finally leave him. But you didn't. David kissed me lightly, but his voice turned serious. Anna, I was so angry back then. I couldn't understand why you didn't take better care of yourself. I sighed. Honestly, I had already thought about breaking up with him, but silly as it sounds, my birthday was coming up, and I didn't want to spend it alone. My father had passed away when I was little. Then, during university, my mother was gone too. Opening this little private restaurant, it was my way of continuing my father's legacy. He had been an incredible chef, leaving behind countless secret recipes. So after my mother passed, I used the money they left me to open this place. But people without family, they always long for warmth. And on birthdays especially, you want someone to spend the day with. I never imagined this birthday would turn out the way it did, but in a way, it was a good thing, because it brought me to David. I'm glad I met you that night. David didn't say anything. He just held me tighter. There aren't really accidents in this world. There's just someone who keeps trying, quietly, tirelessly, to get closer to you. David had been frustrated with her, frustrated that she never valued herself, frustrated that she always let herself be hurt. But more than anything, he cared deeply for her. That night, years ago, when she had hidden away, crying alone, because it was her mother's death anniversary, she never knew, never realized how much she made people want to protect her. And the next day, she had forced a smile, laughing and joking with her classmates. She never knew how heartbreakingly sweet she was, how much she made people care for her. On Christmas Eve, when she blushed, handing him an apple with the other freshman girls, he had almost fallen for her then. But back then, he had already made his plans to leave the country. And she was only 19. He had thought, I'll wait until she's older. I'll wait until I come back from abroad. So he had said nothing, but the apple she gave him, it was the only one he had accepted that night. He had kept it for a long, long time, until he had no choice but to throw it away. And yet, in the years that followed, she had poured her whole heart into another man. David had seen it all, every moment of Anna and Ben's messy, on-again, off-again relationship. And so, he had always kept his distance, because he was afraid that if he wasn't careful, if he let her notice, she would push him away, completely, until her birthday that night. When she had said, "It's my birthday. I don't want to be alone." Somehow, as if fate had taken over, he had brought her home with him. And now, she was fast asleep in his arms. David leaned down and ever so gently kissed her forehead. He knew. For the rest of his life, he would never let her cry again.